Today is September the 8th, 2015. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Springfield Township Board of Trustees meeting. Mr. Burning, can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Burning?
Present.
Mr. Honolo?
Present.
Ms. McFarland?
Present.
All the trustees are present.
Okay. And now if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Honolaw, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next on our agenda, we have approval of minutes. Minutes from June the 2nd, 2015, which was a special meeting. Minutes from June the 9th, 2015, which was a public hearing and regular session. And minutes from June the 23rd, 2015, which was a regular work session. Need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next, Mr. Burning, our financial report from our fiscal
Yes.
officer.
For the month ending August 31st, 2015, the township expenditures were $1,898,504.44. The receipts were $6,807,448.97. The ending cash balance was $21,166,168.55. This includes all obligations to expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. What I need is I request a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenues and reports for the period ending August 31st, 2015. Do I have that motion?
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and I just want everyone to know that financial reports are available for viewing at the administration office during regular business now, and most of them are on our website now. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burning. Next, we have the departmental action and discussion items. Mr. Henningkamp, our administrator, can you give us an update, please?
Thank you, Ms. McFarland. I have a couple of action items. One's actually there's actually going to be three separate resolutions a little later on our agenda, and these all have to do with actions we're taking with regard to outstanding bonds that the township has. This is an item that we've been discussing, I think back since at least far back as June, maybe even in May during our work sessions, about the opportunity to what they call refund some of the bonds, reissue another portion of the series, and all of that is something that we're just now becoming eligible to do in September. And the reason for it, obviously, is that we are going to save a substantial amount of money for the township. So, like I said, we've been kind of working on this since early summer. Just a little background, Township has two series of bonds that are out. There's a 2004 series, which is just under $8 million of outstanding debt, and then there's also a 2006 series bonds, which is about $1,250,000 remaining. And as I mentioned, when you do the bonds, we sold these bonds publicly. They're tax-exempt bonds. You have the opportunity to refund them a couple of times during the life of that bond series. We did that once some years back. This is the second opportunity and final opportunity to do that. The earliest possibility for the 2004 bonds is, as I mentioned, in September. Rates are such that it's well worth taking advantage of this opportunity, and that's what we plan on doing. So these three resolutions, the other series, the 2006, are actually bonds that are held by Northside Bank. We were going to simply lump both of that debt into one and do a whole new bond issuance. We did go to Northside. They were willing to reduce the interest rate actually 50%. So currently we're at about 4.6%. Northside has agreed to reduce that rate to 2.3%. And then on the 2004 series, we'll actually go and sell those bonds in the market. But we're anticipating a kind of a blended rate, somewhere probably right in that range, about the 2.3, might even be slightly lower, just kind of depends on what the markets are, what are doing. But altogether, we anticipate savings to the township over the next probably 10 to 15 years of being somewhere in the neighborhood of about $750,000. So roughly, about $70,000 a year. Again, we won't know the exact numbers until they're sold. So the three resolutions, really, the one is to allow for the north side action to take place in the reissuance. The other, so that reissuance will lower the interest rate. The second action is a completely new issuance, so you're refunding the current ones, reissuing at the new interest rate. So that's the second resolution. And then the third resolution really sort of pertains to both of those actions, and it is just establishing what's called post-issuance compliance policies and procedures. And what that is that's just establishing how the township will conduct its procedures, its policies in dealing with those bonds. Mostly pretty standard things on what we're doing. So really no action on this part. Those will all come with the enactment of those, with those three resolutions, but that's what those three resolutions pertain to. I would mention that we are, as part of the new issuance with the refund of the existing 2004 and the reissuance, there will need to be a new bond rating established, and we are scheduled to go to Moody's next week to have that bond rating completed. So something we've been talking about a long time, and finally it's here and we're ready to go. So that's what
The timing is right.
the timing is right, and
Absolutely
like I
right.
said, great opportunity for savings for the township. The only other action items I have is we do have two liquor permits that have come through to the board. The first one is for 6244 Daily Inc. From Volalek Inc., doing business as Quick and Cold. And Chief, I don't believe there's any objection to the transfer of that permit, correct?
No, no objection, no.
And then I don't know if we want to do these individually
Why don't we do
or
them
do
individually?
them individually.
Yes.
So just looking for the
I'll make a
motion for the
motion.
board that we issue.
I'll make a motion that we direct the clerk to send the appropriate letter to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's for both of them?
No, individual.
Individual,
First.
that's for the first one. And then for the second one? do you have
And
a
the
motion?
second also is a transfer from 10960 Hamilton Avenue Gas Inc., doing business as Seven Hills Sunoco, to Seven Hills Food Mark LLC, doing business as Seven Hills Sunoco. And again, I don't believe there's any objection.
No objection.
To that liquor permit.
As I represent that company, I'll abstain from that vote, so I'll let you two.
All right.
Just to not.
So the motion, I move, so moved.
That we send the required information up to the state. That We
Correct.
have no
We get a
problems with
second?
that. Okay.
You second, Gwen?
Second it, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
That is the only action items, just under discussion. Again, something that we talked about in our work session, and something that I eventually would like to come in front of the board. It may be either October or November meeting, just depending on some of the notifications that we do. But back in 2003, the board approved Resolution 152, 2003, and that established the TIF districts. There's actually two. Both of them are on the Winton Road corridor. The only reason there's two is one of them's in the Winton Woods School District, the other's in the Finneytown School District. And we passed those during a time that was in compliance with state law and all of the limitations regarding not only how they could be set up, but how the proceeds could be used. Over the years, there's been some change in TIF legislation, It's not a big difference. It just gives a little bit greater flexibility as to how those funds can be used. It's been, like I said, close to, 12, a little bit going on 12-plus years. So I think this is probably a good opportunity to amend that legislation. And the only purpose of the amendment would be to allow us to take advantage of current law, if the board saw fit to that. As I said, it just gives you a little greater flexibility in using the funds for economic development purposes. The current law limits it pretty much to capital and acquisition related to capital improvements. So really not much change. The current legislation was done in cooperation with both of those school districts. Neither school district will be impacted one way or the other with this legislation. They are currently being made whole. So when we did the TIF, the schools were not impacted negatively, and this amendment will also not negatively impact them in any way. It'll keep basically the exact same formula and the same factor that they continue to be made whole. In fact, this new legislation actually will include the fact that the vocational school, in this case, Scarlet Oaks, will also be made whole. It's a fairly small amount of money that they will get, but that's part of the legislation requires that the joint vocational school in the district also have the same deal. So very little change really in either impact, but it's, like I said, it will give us some flexibility. So we'll be drafting that legislation, and as I said, just depending on timing, there's some notifications as far to the school, but that's something that will probably be on our agenda for the October meeting, at least to take the first step.
And the schools are aware of this?
Winton Woods is not, but I have had conversations with Finneytown just briefly as we're meeting on a different issue, but we will be notifying Winton Woods. There's a formal notification that they have to get.
Okay.
And I wouldn't do that formally until the trustees take the action to move forward. And the first step is that the school districts would then get notified of it. So I haven't said anything to Winton Woods just because I just want to make sure that we're actually going to do that. But that won't take place until October. So nothing to do at this point.
Okay.
Similarly, and this will be an item we'll talk about a little bit tomorrow, there's been some changes to the legislation, state law regarding community improvement corporations. Again, the change is very, very subtle. It's very minor and really simply adds a little language that adds a little more flexibility as to the relationship between these sort of creating entity or jurisdiction, in our case, obviously the township, and the CIC. Want to formally come back to the board with a cooperation agreement. I think that's something we talked about when we created the CIC. Again, we're not really envisioning it being any different than the way we're using it, but it probably makes sense at this point, now that the CIC is up and running, to sort of formally establish what's the relationship between the CIC and the township. And again, that's a resolution that we'll be working on and be preparing for the October agenda. And there'll be some actions that the CIC will need to take as well. One of the things as we looked at the CIC, and we'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow on their agenda, but one of the things that we looked at is just as we talked about going forward with the 501c3 application, there is some requirements in that application by the IRS that there be certain things included in your code of regulations that we don't have in there, and it just states the purpose of the organization. So we have to make that amendment anyway. This is probably a good time to make some of the changes, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. The only other thing I wanted to mention, and I know we've been talking about this for really about the last two and a half years, in one form or another. We are working on a number of what I'll consider to be sort of mid-range plans, kind of 5-7-year plans. All of these plans are in one way or another sort of directly related to what came out of our neighborhood master plan. If the board remembers, that was a very global document that addressed a whole bunch of different things. And one of the recommendations in there were to do more specific plans for economic development, more specific plans on long-term operational funding, more specific plans and detailed plans on infrastructure funding, And we're working on all of those documents now as staff. What I'm hoping is that we'll meet again with the Neighborhood Master Planning Committee. We try to get that group together at least once a year, get them together, get some of their input, and as we go through and have these plans at least completed in draft form, to have the board see them, potentially conduct some public hearings on them, get community feedback as we always have. But we're kind of shooting for the end of the year, early 2016. I think we'll have these plans in at least draft form. And it's not, I don't think any of the ideas are going to be, a great departure from any of the directions, just a little bit more specificity and a little bit more detail as to some of the options that will be worth pursuing, kind of looking at how we continue to move forward 5-7 years from now.
I think when you look at, when we initially set up the neighborhood master plan, that was one of the concerns that residents had is, we worked together to collectively create this document, and we don't want it to just go away or we don't have any follow-up. We want to stay on top of it and look and see what the changes are, what the projections are, where are we today, where were we yesterday, where we're going to be tomorrow. So that group still is an active group, and I think that's important.
Yeah, it is, and it's, the plan, believe it or not, in 2016 is going to be 5 years since we adopted it, so it's going to be good timing, not only to complete some of the phases, some of the other recommendations that came out of it, but also maybe take a look and update the entire document.
That would be great.
Under our personnel report, had a lot of activity. The fire department has been very, very busy. As you've known, we've been in a hiring mode. So we've gone through a lot of transition with retirements. And we have new hires. Brandon Manor was hired as a part-time paramedic firefighter. Effective date of his hire was August 17th. Jason Brandt, also joining the Fire EMS department as a part-time paramedic firefighter. Michael Jones, Brandon, date of hire was August 19th of 2015. Michael Jones, part-time EMT firefighter, also August 19th. Joshua Moves is a part-time paramedic firefighter, also August 19th was his date of hire. Michael Swafford as a part-time EMT firefighter. His date of hire is August 25th, 2015. Robert Bear, a part-time EMT firefighter, effective date August the 26th. And Scott Rahm as a part-time EMT firefighter, effective date of September 13th. And as the board I know is aware, but I'll just say it, these are not new positions in terms of expanding the number of personnel. These are all positions that will work as a roster of available personnel to fill budgeted slots. In our police department, Michael Webb was hired as a school resource officer. His effective date, August the 17th, 2015. And I did accept the resignation of Carola Spurlock as a bartender. Effective date of her resignation was August the 17th, and our seasonal employees have completed their work. That's Laura Bass, completed her work on, and this is in the service department, August 14th. Michael Hartman, also August 14th. Josh Ungenbuehler, August 18th, and Joe Durr on August the 21st. Before we turn things over to Kim and let her go through community events and programs, I'll ask Laura to bring the board up to date with some good news regarding a liquor permit that we've spent a little bit of time with.
The Chasers permit, we were waiting for our decision on our hearing, hoping we would win the hearing. We didn't get that, but we got the next best thing. We noticed during the time period we were waiting for our hearing, actually in between the two continued hearings, that they really weren't operating. So we contacted the Department of Liquor Control and inquired whether they had put their permit in safekeeping, given that they weren't operating. In Ohio, you have to either operate or have it in safekeeping. They had not done that, so we alerted the hearing officer that it wasn't in safekeeping and they weren't operating. We provided documentation as to that so that we could basically attack it a couple ways. hoping that they would lose their license because of that as well, or at least not get a non-renewal. Not get a renewal. We got notice on August 27th that they did not renew them for the 2015-2016 period as a result of their failure to put it in safekeeping. So it wasn't the victorious win from our hearing we were hoping for, because we really prepped that hearing well, and we're looking forward to winning that. But it gets us the result we want, which is they are not renewed, that business will not open, it cannot open, and that license has been non-renewed, and they cannot get it back in this period. So we are not going to see that business in Springfield Township again. So that gets us what we were hoping for.
That is truly, truly a blessing for the business owners in that community.
Absolutely.
In that strip mall, for the residents as well.
And anybody else.
And anybody else, all of the above, and the staff as well, because that was really a volatile operation there. And it was just a matter of time before there was going to be even more of a problem there. So I just commend you, all of y'all, for the work that you did. The police department, Laura, all the work that you put in to help make this a reality.
And the businesses, I gotta say, the businesses in there were amazing. They did affidavits for us, they did, came to the hearing, which is, they took time out of their businesses and earning their livings, and really kind of put their neck out on the line. Anytime you act as a witness in a case, you're gonna get some people who aren't happy with you. So they really, I gotta say, poor Michael's and, I forget the name of the Mexican. Cancun. They were amazing, they really were, and that helped us a lot. I think had they rendered a decision, we would have won. They're very hard to win, but I think we would have. But you got to attack these things as many ways as you can, and however you get a win is good for me.
That's right.
Well, Laura, that's great. That's great work. And Chief, I know the police department's got to be very happy as well. There were times where this one business would drain the resources of not only our township, but adjoining jurisdictions, and we've had shots fired with police officers there. It was a powder keg waiting for somebody to get killed.
It really was. There's no question that someone would have been killed. There were several people that were severely injured, including shot, and it was one of our police officers that actually took on gunfire at one point. And I'd just like to say, too, it was a concerted effort, not with just the police department, but the fire department helped us on a number of occasions, and a number of the county health department and any other agency that we could bring in to attack this problem. We're more than willing to do that. So it turned out in the end very well for us, as well as particularly the businesses in Pleasant Run, as well as the residents. So it worked out really well.
And quite frankly, Laura, I wouldn't be surprised that because of the way you tackled that hearing and put up the defenses you did, that had probably, it sounds like they abandoned their license.
They were very surprised at the hearing when they came.
Yeah.
They did not come to the second hearing. They didn't come to the continued hearing. They came only the first, they had their lawyer and 12 witnesses.
Correct.
Like that.
Yeah.
They did not show up to the second hearing, so.
12 witnesses saying what a great place it was.
Yeah.
Well, if you recall, we had a couple people here as well, and then when the questions were asked of them, they were not good witnesses. Their responses were not the type of response that you would want to see that type of business in our community. And so it said a lot, what you've done, what you all did, including you had some partnership with all of the jurisdictions and the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department as well, if I recall.
And we did have officers from other jurisdictions come and testify. It really, this was a business that universally people understood was a problem. So we did have some officers who were willing to come and testify. And it was a continued hearing, so we inconvenienced people on several occasions. So I think everyone really pulled together because it was very important that this be closed.
That's
Job well
great.
done.
Yep.
Good news.
Yeah.
Good news. All right, speaking of good news, Kim, bring us up to date of what's going on in community events and programs, please.
We have our annual senior picnic with the communities of Wyoming and Sycamore Townships on September the 11th. That's this Friday. We have 160 people registered for that event. On September the 12th, the day after, the police department is doing their resident document shredding service, and that is going to be held back at the Grove parking lot from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and that is a free service for residents. We do ask that they bring proof of residency. On September the 26th, the police department is hosting the medication disposal event, and that is actually going to be held in their parking lot from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. October the 10th is the biannual fire department open house, and that goes from noon till 4. Arts Connect is bringing the final dinner theater for the year on October the 16th. And then we are also bringing back the Wicked Windows on Winton Halloween window painting contest, and that's going to be run from October the 19th through November the 1st. Residents will be able to vote online and through a hotline. And on October the 30th, we're bringing back Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park for a free show at 7 o'clock at the Grove. A lot going on.
Very, very good.
Well, that's really all I have. I know the board has copies of departmental reports, and I will need the board to go into a executive session for the purposes of considering the sale of township property.
Okay. All righty. Well, we'll move on to our resolutions then. The first resolution, basically the next three resolutions, Mike has already given everyone an overview as it relates to the bonds. I think I'm starting on the right one. No, sorry. We got two before that. First resolution is number 60, 2015, establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying the same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Need a motion.
So moved.
Can't say at the same time.
Second? Who would you second?
Joe seconds, Mark, and then Joe. Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next resolution is number 61, 2015, and that's authorizing the private sale of junk motor vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to revised code 4513.61 and revised code 4513.62, and which are not needed or unfit for use in any township department. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And then the final three are the ones that Mr. Henningkamp had given us an overview of that we were going to expect to discuss and vote on this evening. And that is resolution number 62, 2015, resolution authorizing the reissuance of $1,250,000 Service Department Facility refunding bonds for the purpose of reducing the interest rate on outstanding bonds, the execution of amended bond documents, and all necessary agreements and certificates. Need a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 63, 2015, resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $7,950,000 various purpose general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2015, for the purpose of refunding outstanding bonds, the execution of a bond purchase agreement appropriate for the sale of the bonds, the execution of a certificate of award containing the final terms of the bonds, and the preparation and delivery of an official statement and other necessary agreements and certificates. Need a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And the final resolution is number 64, 2015, providing for the adoption of post-issuance compliance policies and procedures for tax-exempt obligations.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Okay. Any, next, we have old business. Do you have any old business? Old business? Okay. Any new business?
None this evening.
Okay. All right, I have none. I think we discussed the big event when we had the Seven Hills event with the playground. I think that was in our last meeting. Now on our agenda, we come to the part where we can have opportunities for citizen participation. And if there's anyone in the audience that would like to share with us any information or update or concerns that they may have, we'd ask you to step to the podium. We also request that those in the audience abstain from any discussions during that period of time so that we may be able to hear what the individual is saying. So is there anyone in the audience that would like to step to the podium and address the trustees this evening? Okay. Yes, sir.
We do need your name and address.
My name is Andrew Fisher, and I'm 932 Springbrook Drive.
Thank you.
I was wondering what was to become of Warder Park behind Whitaker Elementary.
So you want an update on what's happening with
Yeah,
Warder
that's
Park?
pretty much it. I
That
just
what
wanted
you-
to know what officially were the plans right now. That's all I
Okay.
wanted to know.
Okay, that's a good question. We've been discussing this in several of our meetings. Mike, you want to give them an update?
The township has entered into an agreement with a preferred developer. That developer currently is in the process of engaging engineering and planning firms, and they will begin hopefully sometime within the next couple of months of working on a master plan for that site. So specifically, exactly what the uses are going to be is still unknown at this time, because what they would require, once they do a master plan, is they would have to bring that forward to the township. That would have to go through any necessary zoning or rezoning approvals through the zoning commission and then ultimately the board of trustees. But what we're looking at is probably some type of a mixed use, predominantly residential, possibly some office use on the site, with maybe some retail on some ends of it, but mostly residential and office. Or the use is at least thought of at this time, but that's still not 100% known. And, if you want afterwards, I'd be happy to sit down with you, either probably not right after this meeting because we've got an executive, but I can get your name and we could be happy to sit down and kind of show you some rough ideas of what we're looking at, but very preliminary at this time.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing that there is no one else at this particular moment, need to entertain a motion for us to adjourn from this meeting and go into executive session regarding the sale of township property.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Mr. Harnwell?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
We're in executive session.
I want to thank everyone this evening that came to our meeting. Before we go into our executive session, I know it's been a warm day today, and I can't think of a better place to be than in air conditioning and kind of getting an update from all of us regarding what's going on in our township. So again, thank you. Thank you for coming this evening.